Welcome. So today I'm back. We are streaming here. We're streaming on TikTok uh under Mr. Logic on TikTok. Guys, so happy to be back. So happy to be streaming. Uh yeah, so let's jump into this. Let's jump into this. What I want to do today, if you have a debate topic, if you have a debate topic, come join us. Come join the debate. We're looking at the existence of God. We're looking at the existence of God, the crucifixion, the resurrection. Getting this thing set up today. I've been gone. A lot has happened. So, but I'm back. I'm back. And while I'm speaking, I'm getting my TikTok set up. Getting my TikTok set up. So we're just waiting. We're just waiting. Come debate. Bring your questions. Would anybody like to join? Come up. I'll bring you up and we can debate the topic. So some of the topics today are: does God exist? Did Jesus exist? We can discuss that. Is God a Trinity? We can discuss that. Why aren't you a Christian? And those are some topics to get us started, or you can suggest a topic. This is an open debate channel, and we're here to debate. I'm Mr. Logic. I enjoy taking arguments and seeing if they're valid, seeing if they're sound, and that's why we're here. So if you have an argument for a position, whether it's religious, whether it's political, all are welcome on this channel. Let's have a civil discussion. Let's have a conversation. Let's speak. Let's learn. Let's grow together. And so I'm actually doing this because I'm interested in growing as a philosopher and a logician myself, and want to have fun in the process. So if you have a question, if you're interested in religious topics, political topics, ethical topics, let me know. Either way, yeah, we want to see what you guys are doing. So come and debate. Come and debate. Come and debate. Jesus is God. We're debating the topic: is Jesus God? So on and so on. This is my first official live stream on both, I guess we can call it YouTube and TikTok at the same time. It's my first official live stream. So let's see something here. If no one is coming up, I think we can just get to it. We can just get to it. Let's get to it. So, let's see something here. All right. So we got the argument mapper. I gotta switch this around. I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm ready. I'm ready. Let's debate. Let's talk. Let's discuss. Let's discuss. Do you have a question you want to debate that's theological? We can debate. How's it going, Zay? Hello. So I need to see why my my window on TikTok is backwards, but on OBS it's not backwards. Let's go, guys. Let's discuss. Let's debate. Do you have any questions? How's it going, TZ1? How are you? If y'all have any questions, want to do any discussions, let's get it. Let's get it. Let's go. If you want to join, just come in and I can bring you up. And right now, I'm trying to see if you're just coming in, welcome. So my little screen on TikTok is backwards, so I need to figure out how to reverse this. Yeah, I need to figure out how to reverse this on TikTok. Yeah, so let's debate. If you're here, if you have any theological questions or topics you want to discuss, let's come up. Let's talk about it. Mr. Zay, TZ1, if y'all have any topics or discussions y'all want to bring to the forefront, let's talk about it. And let's talk about it. Does God exist? if you guys want to come up, just add something to the comments. Let me know. I'll send you. I'll send you the invite. Let's see. So, in the meantime, I'm trying to figure out how to change this window. Is this, would that be an image? No, that's not the image. Not the camera either. What would this be considered? Oh, it's backwards in here. Okay, so it's backwards in here, so won't be able to show that there. But it's not backwards on YouTube, which is a bit weird. So yeah. So if you guys wanna come up, let's go. We're ready to have a good discussion, good debate. Hello, Diane. How are you? If y'all have any questions, any theological topics, or if you want to look at some reasons, how was your day, Diane? Okay. So, I'm going live for the first time, and I'm live on YouTube and OBS. If you want to find me, my day was actually great. How's it going, Mr. Paz? My day was wonderful. I'm excited. You know, I'm rebranding my YouTube channel. I'm rebranding myself as Mr. Logic. I used to be the Thought Decoder on YouTube, but I think Mr. Logic, it better fits me and what I want to do. So love to examine reasons why people believe what they believe, and looking forward to doing it. So if anyone has any questions or anything, any topics, thank you. Wow, those are amazing words. And for the YouTube audience, a commenter said, I won't say her name just in case you don't want me to say her name, but it says, "What a wonderful season you are coming into." But that's a nice comment. Very nice comment. And I tell you what, I think I know what I'll do. I think I know what I'll do here. Let me move this here so I could look like I'm looking more at the camera here. So yeah, if you're joining, we want to have a discussion today. No topic is off the table, but I have some topics here just to get you started. They are topics such as, does God exist? Did Jesus exist? I visited a stream where they discussed whether Jesus existed, and they eventually kicked me off the stream. Yeah, it was a young man. I guess he thinks Jesus didn't exist, but it's clear that Jesus existed, and so if y'all want to talk about that, that's a topic. And so yeah, we have a lot of interesting topics to discuss. So I guess I can explain, like, what's the point of this? What's the point of my channel? And I don't even know what you call it on TikTok. Is it called a channel or what? But so the one reason I have this channel is to help people think better. There are so many people in the world who are deceived, so many people who are mistaken, sincere people who are mistaken, unsincere people who are mistaken, or insincere people who are mistaken. So I think that if we want to become better thinkers and to have a better grasp on truth, it's important that we learn to think better. And one way to think better is through logical analysis, right? Learning logic. Logic is the science of critical thinking. It's the study of correct reasoning. It's different parts, different kinds. You have more informal logic that shows you how to reason within everyday context. You have more formal logic, which has a language, symbols and rules that you can transform your thoughts and sentences into accurate reasoning using valid argument forms and different things like that. So we want to not just engage in conversations and debates here, but I actually want to look at what your arguments are, your reasons for thinking. Reasons for thinking different things. And I'll read the comment. You brought a great point last night. Have an answer for everything asked about the Bible. Yeah, that's a that's a tough one right there. I don't know if I can live up to that standard of having an answer for everything asked about the Bible. But you can get, I mean, you'll hear new things over time, but you can get to the point to where you've heard a lot of the same questions, and so it kind of strengthens you and builds confidence after you've studied it. As a kid, I was a very curious, inquisitive kid, and I would often have questions, but I would never look up the answers to those questions. I would just wonder about things and then simply forget the question. And I remember thinking, what if whenever I had a question, I sought the answer? And that was one of the most transformative ways of living for me, because whenever I would be curious about something, I would look it up, research it, find the answer. And that's how you begin to grow in your knowledge. Not just have questions, but seek out the answers to those questions. And well, you're correct. Everything is a grand word. Okay. What do you mean by everything is a grand word? And Diane, if you would like to come up, I don't know if you see a request button, because I don't know exactly what you all see on your side. Love to have a conversation with you. But yeah, so I guess what I like to spread is the love of learning, the love of exploration, and this approach that you don't have to know everything. You don't have to be an expert at everything. And I like to show, hello, the diary of VBRB. How you doing? How are you? So what I like to demonstrate is that I don't think you have to know everything and have, a knowledge of facts. The diary of a VRB. Let's see, how can I bring you up? Let's see. Reply pin. I'm going to click on your name. Okay. Add as moderator. Multi-guest. Okay, I sent you an invite.
How you doing?
How's it going? I can hear you. This is
Hey
great.
man, listen, brother, listen, bro. You need to take them guys down, man. Them Christ before Jesus guys.
Oh
I
yeah.
don't know. I keep following you. You gotta let me know when you're joining their lives too, man. You
Okay.
know,
I went up
because
twice on their live. Did you hear me the second time?
I was there the first time I was there before you, and then I requested so they could bring you up, man, because he was talking a lot of gibberish that I wasn't understanding. I was the guy. That's why I followed you from.
Oh, okay. Well, I went back on the
Yeah,
channel the second time, and
yeah,
the guy, he blocked me, but I was able to get in. Basically, I showed him how he's quoting history as if he's
yeah,
using a historical method. But then
yeah.
when I brought out the historical methods that historians
That he's
use,
using.
he
Yeah,
did he rejected the method. Then
Jesus Christ.
he wanted to bring up a fringe historian, and who this guy is not even a historian. He's a religious scholar, right? And I
Yeah,
was asking him, I was like, who have you read that? So what he did was he rejected the historical method and said, in data science,
yeah.
we're using these new tools in data science. And
That
I
we don't
asked him,
know.
yeah, and I asked him, I said, well, what scholar is using those tools, and who has
Yeah,
shown that Luke didn't write the book of Luke?
yeah.
And he gave me a name. What was his name? Olson, something Olson. And I looked this guy up, and this guy wasn't even a data scientist. He was a religious scholar. And then I asked him,
Jesus.
I said, hey, do you have any training in history? He said no. So he didn't have training in history. Most historians say that Jesus existed, if not all of the
Yeah,
historians, because their method, using their method. And so he has to deny historians, he has to reject their method, and he has to appeal to people who are not historians. And then he wants to bring up stellometry as if he has some type of evidence that Jesus didn't exist. But if you look at stellometry, you can Google it. There are no studies in stellometry that says Luke did not have the same, that Luke and Acts did not have the same author, right? Or that the material from, he said, chapters 4 to 22 were borrowed. And so one of his main claims was that the stellometry claimed that, hey, there's this new scientific method that you can use to see who an author was. And but if you research it, there are no studies that show Luke didn't write Luke. As a matter of fact, all the studies show that Luke actually wrote Luke. Now he wants to bring in the Evangelon, right? And that's
hmm,
another move he makes. And this is why he was the reason I joined TikTok to begin with, because he just popped up on YouTube, and I was like, who is this
yeah.
guy? And so, I mean, Jesus never existed. That's pretty. That's not really.
That's very low because at least you can say he existed, but he's not, divine. But saying
Yeah,
that he did not exist to
yeah,
totality, that shows that I don't know where you're coming from with that.
yeah. I mean, that's the most ridiculous claim of all times, because
100%.
you mean to tell me billions, half the world believes in someone who never existed? That would be pretty absurd.
All the historians that are not Christians that believe that he existed, to say the least.
Correct, correct. And he really has a pickle. He's in a pickle because
Mm,
the people from the Jesus Seminar, they say,
hmm,
and they admit that one of the most historically certain facts is the crucifixion of Jesus. That's what
hmm.
everyone agrees to. But if everyone agrees that the crucifixion of Jesus is a historical fact, that implies that Jesus existed. So in order to deny Jesus' existence, he has to deny one of the most certain historical facts in history. So who has the rational position? The person who is going against one of the strongest proofs and demonstrations for a historical event, or the person who is accepting the historical evidence? And we, on the side of Jesus existing, we accept the historical evidence. And so If I was to
Yeah.
debate him,
You gotta give me some material, man. You gotta give me some material because I want to go back to that live and have a real conversation. Because the last time I had a conversation with a guy, I was coming from a place of not really being equipped, other than the fact that I was just attacking because obviously he's an atheist, and I don't know, his material that well. You mentioned sormentary. I don't know. Is that the method that he uses to determine that Luke was not written by Luke or whatever?
right? So
Uh,
what this
yeah.
guy does, he's kind of all over the place, right? So he mentions
Oh, so he doesn't have
evidence.
one place. He doesn't have one thing.
No, he just mentioned. So what he does is he throws out different statements, right? He just
Yeah,
throws them out. This is this, and this is this, and we know this, and we don't know this, and we don't. And so with people
yeah,
like that, if you hold them to one point, right, you done made a
yeah,
claim. Let's no, let's not. Before you move on, let's. And the reason I have this live is
yeah,
because of people like him who want to stop you from speaking, right? People
yeah,
like him who don't want you to make a point, because when people come on my live, I'm not intimidated by a different person's arguments. But
opinion.
what
Yeah,
I'll do is you'll speak, I'll speak, you'll speak, I'll speak. But what a lot of atheists and unbelievers do on their lives, they want to mute you
yeah.
when you have a response, right? But
Well,
that
no, when you have
shows
a strong response that dispute their position, because the entire premise is like holding.
right, exactly. And so
Because I was following the conversation. I was following the conversation you were having with a guy, especially the last one. And he said, "Say this, or I'm gonna kick you out." you know,
oh, you heard, yeah, you
you know,
heard that. You heard that
yeah.
conversation.
So
Yeah.
he's like trying to put you in a box, make you say
Yeah,
something. If you don't say
exactly.
it the way he wants it. So I think honestly you should start making video to dispute them
Yeah.
and post them. You
Yeah.
know,
Look
and
at the
and
second
keep using.
look
Yeah,
at the second thing on this list.
yeah. Paul did not exist.
Did Jesus exist?
Oh, that's his question. Oh,
I
okay, okay.
don't.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. I see.
You
I see. I
see,
see. I see.
you see,
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
got the
yeah,
whole.
yeah,
I have that just because of him. So
yeah.
if
Yeah,
anyone
wow.
wants to come up and debate Jesus's existence,
Man, let me know what I need to do, man, because I'm gonna keep sharing your stuff, bro, and
okay,
I'm gonna keep looking down, man.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So
follow me back and send me a message. I'm about to step out, but send me a message on this app, and then yeah, we stay connected for real, bro. Because I seen the work that you're doing, and all I can say is God bless, bro.
yeah, absolutely. Hey, yeah, and thanks for coming up and things like that, and sharing with me. But in terms of one last point before you go, did you tell me you have to go to do something? Did you just say that?
Yeah. I'm stepping out, but I have some a couple minutes.
Okay, well, just one more thing, because this guy loves to bring
Yeah,
up the evangelon, right? And he wants to say, "Oh,
yeah.
Luke's chapters 4 through 22 were borrowed from Marcion, and Marcion wrote the
Hmm.
evangelon." Now, when I first spoke to this guy, Christ before Jesus, uh, I don't know if you heard my first conversation with him. Sounds like you just mentioned the last conversation I
Yeah,
had.
yeah. The last conversation is the one that I heard of you.
Oh, okay, okay, yeah. So that's when I was getting him. That's when I was getting him on that one. But the first conversation, he quoted, "Oh, we know Luke didn't write Acts," and I was like, "Oh, really? Why do you think that?" He says because Marcion wrote or Luke didn't write Luke, like the chapters 4 through 22. Luke didn't write those chapters, and he said because we know Marcion published it, right? So I said, "Yo, so what makes you think Marcion published it?" He says, "Well, Justin Martyr says that Marcion was alive during his day." And I was thinking, I was like, "Well, that's irrelevant, right? Because just because someone is alive, that's no evidence that they wrote anything. Just because you affirm that somebody was living when you were alive, that doesn't mean you're not telling me what they did, right?" And so I was like, "So who did he say that Marcion wrote Luke those 4 through 22?" Then he was like, "No, he didn't say that." And then I was like, "Well, who wrote the Evangelon Eventually, I asked him who wrote the Evangelion, and he was like, "Well, we don't know." So I said, "Well, if you don't know who wrote the Evangelion, how do you know that Luke
Yeah.
didn't write it?"
How do you quote it? Yeah, exactly.
Right? How do you know that Luke didn't write it
So
and you don't know who wrote it? Right? That's
yeah.
that's
And how do you
inconsistent.
determine? And the reason that he determined. So what is his main reason of determining that Luke did not? You know.
Oh, I'll tell you. So this is his argument is ultimately a non sequitur, and meaning that
Yeah.
it doesn't follow. Now, what he
Uh,
acknowledges is that the Christians were writing
mhm.
that Marcion and his followers were claiming to have written Luke, but the Christians were saying Marcion stole the book of Luke and was claiming to have written it. So, and this is why when I debated him, I said, "Wait a minute, you're basically admitting that this was a dispute. This was a dispute, right? And you're picking one side of the dispute without any reason. That was everything he said. So, and I
Mhm.
told him, and so he said, "Well, if you look at the Evangelion, it's similar to the book of Luke, chapters 4 through 20, right?" And it's like, let's say
Mhm.
let's say I grant him that, because first we can even investigate that. Like, where is the Evangelion? Do you have a copy of it? Does it look exactly like chapters Luke 4 through 22, right? And so we can ask him.
Yeah.
We can ask him. Okay, so, and this was I was trying to pin him down on. So you're saying that two books, Luke and the Evangelion, have the same material in it. Chapters 4 through 22 are exactly the same. But from there, you make a leap and say that Marcion wrote Luke, and not that Luke copied, not that Marcion copied from Luke. You see that?
Yeah.
Just because
And
I
then
have two books that are identical, I can't.
identical
I
in the
cannot
same
infer.
time.
Yeah, I cannot
Yeah.
infer that one person wrote it and another person
Well,
did not write it. It's just that's arbitrary.
and that's why he came in. I think it was. I think you're making the point of like a publisher and a writer.
Right.
I think that was the yeah.
Exactly.
It was like, it's
Exactly.
like, and he was trying to call you stupid because you was trying to differentiate from
Yeah.
the two.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
that's
Okay.
when I asked him. I said, it sounds like you're saying Marcion published it because you don't want to say he wrote it. But if he didn't
Yeah.
write it, why do you keep saying the Evangelion came from Marcion?
Yeah.
Right? The question is who wrote it? And then I asked him, I said, "Well, what's the difference between writing and publishing?"
Yeah.
Right? Does he mean that Marcion spread it around? But then you cannot. But him, Marcion, publishing the book, the Evangelion, is consistent with Luke writing it.
Hmm.
You can publish what I write, right?
Yeah.
And so this
Yeah.
is why,
Because you're the writer.
exactly, this is why he didn't want to answer my questions. The more I dug, the
Yeah.
weaker his arguments became, like sand. Like putting your fingers through the sand. Your hand just goes in,
Yeah.
and there's nothing solid there. Uh, if Marcion just published the Evangelion, and we know that the authorship of the Evangelion was disputed, then you have given us no reason to think that Marcion wrote it, right?
Yep.
You've given us no, you just
Well,
say he spread it around. To publish is to just spread it around, right? So how do we know you weren't spreading around Luke's gospel like the Christians, like the fathers said, the fathers in the church said, right? And so
yeah.
his this is your basis for believing that Jesus didn't exist. Now, I'll tell you what happened on the first meeting I had with Christ before Jesus. The first time I
Hmm.
met with them, they said, "Well, you don't have any evidence that there are no eyewitnesses to to Paul or Jesus. I said,
Mm.
yeah. I said, yes,
But
it is.
that's a
I said,
lie.
yeah. I said, Luke was an eyewitness to Paul. Then he said, well, why do you say that? I said,
Oh,
I said,
that's why he has to include that in his argument because you know. Uh,
exactly,
okay, now I see why he got to include that.
exactly. And he was like, well, Acts was not written by Luke, right? And I said, of course, Acts
Yeah.
was written by Luke because Luke includes he includes the plural pronouns we. So then they said, well, that's just a convention, and in this ancient Greek convention, you include we whenever you're taking sea voyages. So I said, okay, well, if you look at Acts, what did I quote? Anyway, there's a chapter in Acts where Luke
Mm-hmm.
is saying we and they are not on the sea. They
Mm.
are on land. But I clarified, I got them to admit, and they were contradicting each other. He had this other gentleman on his
Yeah.
channel who was kind of like supporting him or saying some things kind of in the background. But I had them contradicting each other. So I said, so you're
Yeah.
saying that every time the we is used, it's only used during sea voyages. And they said, yeah. And so I showed him in Acts where we is used, but they're not in the sea voyages. As a matter of fact, it was used before they took a sea voyage. Right? And so that's disputed their attempt to refute the evidence that Luke was an actual witness to the events of in knew Paul, right? But Paul saw Jesus, and saw the resurrected Christ. And so we have people. So this means the Gospels in the Bible goes back to the eyewitnesses of the resurrection, and so that's when he tried to bring up the Evangelon and stuff like that. First, they tried to say that Luke didn't write it. Then they tried to compare. The book of Luke and Acts to. They said, well, it's just like you believe in the Iliad, the Homer or whatever. And I told them, I said, well, the gospel is historical biography. It's ancient Greek biography, and the book of Luke, Acts is historical narrative. However, the Iliad is an epic poem.
Mm.
It's a different genre. So you can't apply the conventions of a distinct genre to a different genre, right? If I'm reading history, then history has its own ways of writing history, its own methods, its own signs that the person who's writing it is trying to communicate that this actually occurred. But if I'm reading poems,
Mm-hmm.
then I may have metaphors, I may have similes and analogies, and I may have rhyme scheme and things like that. So to try to compare them is to make a false analogy, and this is what I was showing them the
But
first time.
also, so this what? How did you respond to that point? Because I got a minute, but I want to join you live. Are you doing the live again tomorrow?
Yeah, yeah. I think
Okay.
I'll be going live at maybe 7 o'clock
What time?
for now.
7 o'clock Eastern Standard.
It what time is it now for you?
Right now is 9:28. I'm
Okay,
Eastern Standard.
so that'll be 8 o'clock your time.
Yeah, that'll be on top. So I'll join your live tomorrow. We're gonna talk about this is briefly like the things that we'll be talking about right now. I like the topics that you have on here, but yeah, definitely those points of like disseminating or like destroying and refuting those claims that he makes primarily will be the way to go. And I think I'll be learning. I'll be taking some notes. I also did look on YouTube. There's a guy that tried to refute him, but he was maybe not doing justice. So there's a video on YouTube. Uh, of like if you look up their name on the search bar that refuted him, and I think there's some points that I really do like. So next time I join their live, I'm gonna hit them with their method because that's actually the way to go. Their method
Right.
is is incorrect. You cannot apply those methods to the Bible. Therefore your premise dies there.
Right.
And then also, I don't know if you're an atheist. I don't know what you hold on to, because if you're a Muslim, I know where to talk. I know the points to speak to you from. But
Mm-hmm.
they present no foundation, no position. So I would just assume that you are an atheist, or you believe in Greek mythologies, But beyond that, that's besides the point. I will join the live tomorrow. We'll talk more deeply. And again, thank you for the work that you're doing, brother. And yeah, follow me back. Yeah, we'll keep the conversation going.
Okay, yeah, no problem. No problem. I actually yeah, I mean, and I just in this conversation I've addressed all of their points. So
Yeah.
stilometry does not, there's no study in stilometry that disproves Luke's authorship. The Iliad and the Gospels are different genres, and one comes thousands of years before the other. Uh,
Mhm.
and so the method of historians, they use certain tools to demonstrate that events occurred historically, such as multiple
Go to
attestation,
modalism. Yeah.
dissimilarity, etc., etc. And the Christ before Jesus guy rejected all of those methods. But prior to me bringing up the actual methods, he wanted to
Mhm.
quote, "Oh, this is historical, and we have evidence for this." And so, basically, my question is, how do you determine what evidence is? And if you
Mhm.
cannot articulate a historical method, then stop saying you're doing history and you have historical evidence, because you don't even know how historians gather it.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. All right. Thank you, my brother. I'm gonna drop out, and then I'll connect with you tomorrow when you're live again, and we'll keep the conversation going. Thank you again for having me.
hello, thanks for joining us. Hola there, how's it going? What's up, man? Maria Renteria. Jam and Jay, how's it going? So yeah, so we just had a conversation about, did Jesus exist, and we were discussing an interview with, or a debate I had with Christ before Jesus, who denies Jesus's existence, right? But one of the most certain facts in history is the crucifixion of Jesus. And so if it's certain that Jesus was crucified, if that's the one of the most certain historical facts, then to deny that Jesus existed is to reject the one of the most established facts of history. And so if you're a Jesus mythicist, then you're not landing on good ground. You're not in good company. As a matter of fact, Bart Ehrman wrote a book, and I think his book was Did Jesus Exist? Let's see. Did Jesus Exist is the name of his book, and he really does not like Jesus mythicists. Uh, Ehrman does not like Jesus mythicists, but he doesn't believe in God. Ehrman is an atheist. Ehrman does not believe Jesus was the Son of God, but he does believe was a historical person. Uh, so Jesus' existence is, I mean, can you can, if the Jesus mythicists are correct, then you have what, 4 billion people on the planet believing in someone who never existed. wouldn't that wouldn't that be just like insane for 4 billion people on the planet to believe that Jesus didn't exist? I mean, to believe Jesus existed when he didn't. Uh, so let's look at. So if anyone is joining and you'd like to come up, just put something in the comments and I'll bring you up. If you would like to join to discuss any of these topics, put something in the comments. Let me know you want to come up. You have a question, and I'll send you the invite. But again, we're discussing these topics here, and if you have a topic to discuss that's not up here, what I like to do as an analytic philosopher and a logician, I like to analyze arguments as well as show you your argument's logical form. And so we can definitely get into that and discuss that. So excited about that. Yeah, so Jesus mythicists, ultimately they have to reject history and historical method. The gentleman I was speaking to, he completely denied the historical method. Once I began to enumerate the historical method, for example, he was like, I know what Habermas teaches, because Dr. Gary Habermas wrote a book for the resurrection, and I think he wrote a multi-volume set, basically showing the history of the argument for the resurrection and compiling a list of objections to the resurrection, so on and so on. But thanks, Jammin' Jay. You're the man. But yeah, so he wrote a history of the resurrection. So, but this Christ before Jesus guy wanted to mention Habermas. He was like, I know you stole that from Habermas. And I was like, well, I don't really listen to Habermas like that. And I don't. I said, but these are just historical methods. As a matter of fact, I get it from C.B. McCullough, who wrote a book, Justifying Historical Inferences. And he gives a list of the different criteria that historians use to establish. Let's see. It's actually in this book. This is another book called Reasonable Fate by William Lane Craig. Let's see. Let's see, The Rise of Historical Consciousness. Okay. Testing historical hypothesis. So C.B. McCullough lists several factors which justify a historical fact. So he lists, first of all, to test a historical hypothesis, the hypothesis together with other true statements must imply further statements describing present observable data. That means that the hypothesis with other true statements imply that you would have evidence, some type of evidence. Second, the hypothesis must have greater explanatory scope. And so the idea is, when you're trying to come up with a fact or a historical fact and you're comparing different hypotheses, what you need to do is have a way of assessing the different hypotheses. And one way to assess the hypotheses is to look at which hypothesis, which idea about what occurred best explains what you see, right? And what best explains what you should see. What gives you more evidence about the things you should see, given the truth of your hypothesis? 4 says the hypothesis must be more plausible. That is, be implied by a greater variety of accepted truths, and its negation implied by fewer accepted truths than rival hypotheses. Okay, so that's when you have competing hypotheses, like they do in science, like they do in history, you want to have your hypothesis needs to have several different, it needs to meet several different criteria to be considered a better hypothesis. It needs to have more explanatory scope. That means if your hypothesis is true, it would lead to more data. You observing more data. It needs to have greater explanatory power. That is, if it's true, then it makes data, it makes evidence more probable. It makes it more probable that certain things would have occurred or would occur if it were true. It needs to be more plausible than the rival hypothesis. That means you need to have more of a reason to believe it than to not believe it, to disbelieve it. The hypothesis must also be less ad hoc. That is, you don't want to assume fewer new suppositions about the past that are not already implied by existing knowledge. 6, the hypothesis must be disconfirmed by fewer accepted beliefs than rival hypotheses. And 7, the hypothesis must so exceed its rivals in fulfilling conditions 2 through 6 that there is little chance of a rival hypothesis after further investigation exceeding it in meeting these conditions. And so those are some of the criterion. And when I met with Christ Before Jesus on his channel, he basically just denied those criterion. He rejected dissimilarity and multiple attestation, and he rejected those as historical methods. And also, it should be noted that these historical methods are inductive. And in inductive reasoning, anytime you're reasoning inductively, then even if your premises are true, your conclusion could still be false. But when we're reasoning inductively, we're looking at likelihood. What is most likely the case? What is most likely the case? For example, if I reason that my car is outside, I could reason inductively. I can say, I went to the window, I looked out the window 5 minutes ago, and my car was there, right? And I can conclude, therefore, my car is still outside. Now, that's not certain, right? Because someone could have stole the car, like right after I went out to look at it. So when we reason inductively, the conclusion doesn't follow with logical necessity from the premises. And this is how history is done, right? You're looking at probability, you're looking at likelihood. And so we're looking at what's most likely true, not what's certainly true. And so when the Christ Before Jesus guy was mentioning, he was like, oh, that's impossible. He said it was impossible that someone would write a book or write a letter and not include their name. He said that was impossible. And I was like, yeah, that's pretty much a stretch, right? To say something is impossible is to say that there's no condition under which that condition could be met. And it's also to say that if you assume something that is impossible, it generates a contradiction. So, yeah, the trying to say that it's impossible is just a contradiction itself. I mean, because it is possible. Because I gave the example, I said, well, somebody can write something and forget to put their name on it. But he had to say that was not possible. So, so if anyone would like to discuss any one of these topics, uh, let me know. If you'd like to discuss any of these topics, put a comment in the chat, and I can bring you up. If you're on YouTube, go on over to TikTok. I'm under Mr. Logic, and we can get into some of these arguments. And if you want to work on your own argument, want to see if you can get some feedback, I'm here for that as well. If you want to get some feedback on your own argument, I'm here for that as well. So, let's see, how long have we been live here? I guess while we're here, we might as well. Now, see something here. Okay, that's not it. Okay, I see. I'm learning this TikTok. Still learning the TikTok. Yeah. So I'm here. Welcome, 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 welcome. If you're watching, hey, come join me. I'm a philosopher and a logician. Basically, if your math teacher ever told you that you didn't show your work, right? Let's say you did a math problem and your math teacher say, "Hey, you didn't show your work on your paper," and she asked, "Well, how did you get that answer?" And you kind of shrugged your shoulders, right? Logic is showing your work when it comes to your reasoning and your thinking. Just like you can put a math problem on different lines and symbolize numerical reasoning with arithmetic and with equations, etc. You can do the same thing with formal logic, and that's what I love to do, and so that's why we're here. I think there's a lot of deception in the world, a lot of false beliefs, a lot of mistaken beliefs, and I think the best thing we can do is make sure that our beliefs are formed on the basis of rational warrant and valid and sound reasoning. And so, if you have any questions you want to discuss, if you have a topic you want to bring up, let's bring it up. Come on, come on, come on. You can follow me on YouTube under Mr. Logic. You can find me, I think it's at Mr. Formal Logic on YouTube. You can also follow me on X. It's at Mr. Formal Logic. If you have any theological questions that you want to discuss, I'm a Christian philosopher. I would love to help you reason through something and drop a comment in the chat, and I can bring you up. But yeah, anyone like to debate? Come on up. I will be here. Well, let's talk about this question. Is Jesus God? Usually when people have discussions about whether Jesus is God, I think it's easy to speak past one another. When I've been on Muslim channels and we discuss is Jesus God, Muslims often in their mind they're asking, is Jesus the Father? Right? Who we call the Father. Is Jesus the person we call the Father? So since they don't have the meaning of God clarified in their mind, then they're confused about the debate question itself. And so if a Christian says Jesus is God, a Muslim hears that Jesus is the person that we call the Father. And so once you know this, then you can help the debate by clarifying what you're referring to. For example, when we say God and we ask, is Jesus God? We're not asking, is Jesus the Father? Right? What we are asking is Jesus a person who eternally exists as God? Right? And by God here we mean divine. Right? So how could we define divinity? So here's one way to define divinity. Someone is divine just in case that person transcends creation. Someone is divine just in case that person transcends creation. Right? And if that person transcends creation, then they are divine. So that's a logical entailment, right? Divinity entails transcendence above creation or beyond creation, and transcendence beyond creation entails divinity, right? So if we can prove that Jesus transcends creation, then we can prove that Jesus is divine, right? But if Jesus is divine and Jesus is not the Father, then this means that God is multi-personal, right? And then from there, all we have to do is establish that the New Testament calls the Holy Spirit Theos, God as well. So if there are three persons within the New Testament who are properly called God, and each person is eternal, right? Each person transcends creation, then that means there is one God who eternally exists in three persons. Where does the one God piece come from? Well, the witness of Scripture in both the Old Testament and the New Testament is that there is one God, right? So if the Old Testament and New Testament affirms monotheism, that there is one God, and the New Testament shows that three persons are God, then that's called the biblical doctrine of the Trinity. And it's the doctrine that there is one God who eternally exists in three persons. That is the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. So to prove the divinity of Jesus, then, all we need to do is prove that he transcends creation. And one way to do that is to go to John. Let's go to John 1. I think I took some notes on this. Where's my... It's not around here. But if we go to John 1 and 3, it says, and I'll read 1 verses 1, and I'll come, where should I stop? I think I'll stop at verse 3. In the beginning was the Word, And the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. So we have the Word in the beginning with God. Now, some people may say, well, the Word was the first created being. The Word was the first thing made. Is that defensible from the Bible? Let's look at verse 3. All things were made through him, and without him was not anything made that was made. So that means some people may say, well, this just means God used the word. Yes, the logos, that's right. I think it's Paz. I don't really know how to pronounce your name. Paz or Paz. That's right. It's the logos. But some people may say, well, this just means he is an instrument of creation, right? He's just an instrument of creation. But let's focus on what we're trying to prove. We're trying to prove that Jesus transcends creation. Any instrument that you use to create must exist prior to you using it. So even if Jesus was just an instrument of creation, that by which God created the world, it still follows that Jesus or the Word pre-existed creation, and even on that basis we can infer that Jesus was divine, which proves that Jesus is God, because that's what we mean by God in that sense. When we say Jesus is divine, we mean that. When we say Jesus is God, we mean that Jesus is divine. He transcends creation. So, but let's look at what verse 3 actually says. It says that there was not anything made, and without him was not anything made that was made. So what does this mean? Anything made is something created. So out of everything that is created, John 1 and 3 is saying that if you take anything, any created thing, John 1 and 3 is establishing that for every created thing, it was not created without the Word. So the Word was a part of creation. But if the Word is creating the things that are made, then the Word cannot be made. Because if the Word created himself, if the Word was made, then he would need to create himself. And in order to create himself, he would need to exist and not exist at the same time. But that is a contradiction. So we know by logical inference, it is necessary, it is absolutely certain that on the basis of John 1 and 3, the Bible is teaching that Jesus is divine. He is not a creature. But if he is not a creature, then he is God. Because there are two types of things in creation, in reality. There is that which transcends creation. That's on the divine side of the split. And there are creatures. Right? So you have creatures and you have divinity. And if you are not made, then you are divine. So the angels then, they are made. They must be, because they're not God. And so that verse proves that Jesus is divine. But we have other verses, just like 1 John. What about Colossians 1:16, 1 and 16? It says, "For in him all things were created, things in heaven and on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or dominions or rulers or authorities. All things were created through him and for him. So Paul is giving us the same notion that John is giving us, that there is this word, or Paul is not using the word, but Paul is using the context of Jesus being the instrument of creation, that by which things were created, as well as, let's see, I'm gonna get the context for that verse. He is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn of all creation. Now, some people look at this word firstborn and they think that means the first thing created. But the context precludes that interpretation, because the context does not allow us to infer that Jesus was created. Because the verse 15 says he's the firstborn of all creation, but then verse 16 says all things were created, whether in heaven and in earth, visible or invisible, through him and for him. Again, if he is a instrument of creation, right, the instrument must exist prior to what you use it to create. Yes, you can join. Let me click on Goose forgot. Goose forgot. Let me send you an invitation.
Yo, what's up?
How's it going?
Good, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing well. What would you like to discuss today?
Well, if you don't mind, I want to go over the topic of free will.
Okay, good one. Good one.
Now, may I give you a little bit of my background?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so I've been a Christian since my family, I grew up in church, so as soon as I could make the decision, I did. And I was independent fundamental Baptist for a while, but now I'm non-denominational. And yeah, that's kind of my background, and I just take topic by topic and study it, and that's how I go about it.
Okay. All right. So what about free will do you want to discuss specifically?
So, could you give a little bit about your background and then go into what, you think is free will? Do we have it? Do we not have it? And, your basis on what you believe about it. Could you do that for me?
Okay. So do we have free will?
Yeah.
Is that okay? Okay. Do we have free will? So I'm a Christian. I'm a philosopher, but I'm a Christian. And my method is to analyze my own reasoning and the reasoning of others using logic, and that's why my name is Mr. Logic on here.
Makes sense right there. Logical.
Yeah, yeah. So let's say free will then, just so not to get, I could get even more slicier and dicier, but I don't want to get into the weeds. But let's say that free will for any thing that you can perform, right? We can call it an action. For any action, free will is the ability to choose to perform that action or choose not to perform that action.
Yeah.
Okay? That's kind of like a technical definition of free will.
Yeah.
Okay, do you accept that?
Yeah.
So I believe that if we are morally responsible for some actions, then it means that some actions we are free to do. But if we are free to do some actions, then we have free will. And so So that's an argument for moral responsibility, right? Yeah. Now, I could say from the Bible, the Bible says, let's see, I said before you. Okay, let's Deuteronomy 30 and 19. I call heaven and earth to record this day against you, that I have set before you life and death, blessing and cursing. Therefore choose life, that both thou and thy seed may live. So this God is telling here. I don't actually like Bible Gateway. I see people using it, but I don't. I really don't use it that much. Let's say Deuteronomy, I think I'm at 30 and 19. So God is telling the children of Israel here that he's giving them a choice, and he's telling them the choice he wants them to make. But guess what? It's still their choice to make, right? He didn't tell them, I set before you life and death, but I'm making you choose life, right? So this verse implies that God is asking the children of Israel to choose life. But you can only ask a person to choose something if they have free will. So what I would argue from this is that the Bible implies that we have free will.
Okay. But, okay, so, yes, we have free will. I agree. But is God's will greater than free will, or is free will greater than God's will?
Greater in what sense?
Which comes
I think she's asking, does God's will supersede man's will? Is that correct?
I think.
Yeah, you could say it like that.
Are you a sir or a ma'am? Or what?
Sir.
Yeah, I thought you were sir.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Jamie was a bit confused. So in what sense? Say the sense again. In which sense you're saying greater?
Yeah, greater is more greater, so as in it's what we follow, and we follow God's will and not free will, I guess.
Okay, so
oh no, I'm more than that.
So the word will there, since words are polysemous, they have multiple meanings. And
so
the word will
kind of a plan.
Right, so the word will could mean what God desires, what he commands,
or what he plans,
what he instructs, right?
Yeah.
So you're speaking to more God's providence, with his ordination, what he ordained to occur, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so now, so to ordain is to just determine beforehand what would occur, right? So I'm getting what you're saying. So it's God's declaring what would occur. God's declaring history versus human freedom is what you're trying to resolve. Is that right?
Is God's like willing things to happen?
Okay. So here, maybe I should just give my explanation of it, and then you see if you agree or not. So, my explanation for us having free will is there's two paths we could take. We could take God's will or our will. Okay? free will or God's will. We could take one of those paths after you become Christian. That's what you have set before you, is to follow God's will or your will. Well, give me 1 second. Okay, sorry.
So let me just pause you right there and clarify something for you. The word will, in the way you just used it, it has two senses. Either it means a desire or it means a choice. So when you say either we can follow God's, do you mean, when you say will, do you mean God's desire or do you mean God's choice?
God's desire, or last time I talked about this, I think the word was plan.
Right. Right. But God has different. God has a right. Okay. So no one can choose not to follow God's plan. Right, because God knows the future.
Yeah.
If God knows the future, then how could you choose to?
Yes, I agree. Yeah. So, desire would be what God desires for our lives.
And there are
okay.
That's right, because now there are two different plans or wills for God in theology. You have God's perfect will. That's the ideal situation for God. And you have God's permissive will. This is what actually occurs, right? You know, it wasn't God's will for Adam to fall. It wasn't God's will for Peter says it like this, for it's not God's will that any human being should perish, but that everyone should come to repentance and be saved.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. That's it. That's what he desires. Right. However, God, and this may be jumping to your the real crux of the issue. God desires, right? God chose that people would have free will, and what he ultimately wants is that people choose him freely. Right?
Mm-hmm.
You cannot make someone freely choose you. That would be a contradiction in terms. Because if you make them, then they're not free. And if they're truly free, then they can reject you. This is why the verse that we read in Deuteronomy 30:19 says, I would that you choose life. There's death, there's life. I want you to choose life. Choose ye this day. Right? Make your choice. But he can't force your choice if he desires for you to choose him freely.
Okay. So, yeah, I see. So, pretty much continuing in it is, so the two paths, what as Christians should do is go towards God's path and try to follow his desires, and go on his path. But then our free will is that we get to choose between our path, what we desire, and what God's path has. And that's free will to me.
Right. I mean, that sounds right.
Yeah. So, I think you kind of answered the question after that I was going to ask is, because I was having a talk about this, to some other people, and they were using it as plan, like desire or will as plan and not desire.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I used that. I think you answered my question already.
Right, but even a plan is something, maybe something you want, right? Because no one chooses a plan they don't want to see. Like, the reason it's a plan is because you want to. It's how you're going to bring something about. Right. So even maybe a plan can be reduced to will.
First thing was that everything's predestined, if you would say. That was their thing to me. And to me, I'm like, God's all-knowing. He knows the future. So, of course, he's going to write about it and tell us, like, this is going to how it's happened. And, of course, he's going to put that in his desires. But he still ultimately knows which ones we follow.
Right. So basically, the controversy or the debate is resolved because most people think either there's freedom or there's God's plan, right? And they think that those things are mutually exclusive. But the conflict is resolved once you know that God's plan includes human freedom. You see?
Yeah, and they could coincide.
Right, they coincide. So
that was my point.
It's not an either or.
That was my point exactly, but I just couldn't get them to think about that, like, logically at all. Like, they just were so stuck, like, it's either God's plan or your plan.
Right.
And, like, you can't have God's plan and then, like, things in there that have a little bit of room in there, like, because ultimately it is a desire, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks. Again, I think that's Mr. Paz. Mr. Paz, is that your name, or how do you say what language is that? I've got to try.
It looks like Aramaic
is that
to
Aramaic?
me.
Wow.
It looks like it.
Are you pretty good? You're pretty good if that's Aramaic.
Yeah, it is.
Amharic. Okay. And is that PAS? Amharic. That's pretty cool. Amharic. Yeah, so what else did you have for me? What were they getting at by making that point? What was their ultimate point?
It was to, like, deter Christians from being Christian, like, to change their mind about it, and, like, that our Christianity can't stand because it's only God's. It's either predestined or we have free will. It can't be both.
Okay. And so if you were predestined, then you shouldn't be a Christian. That seems to work against their point, right? Because
no, I'm saying that their point was that if things were predestined, because God says, I made people that, like, to live, and I made people to, like, die, or something like that.
Okay, so
it was
like
a verse
Romans
in that
9.
sense. Yeah, and I think it was, and like, so their point is because there were people to live and die, that it's predestined, and if it's predestined, there's no free will.
That's interesting. Okay, so
And
let's go to Romans 9 really quickly, because I think this will be helpful. And Romans 9 and 25, as indeed he says in Hosea, those who were not my people I will call my people, and her who was not beloved I will call beloved. And the very place where it was said to them, you are not my people, there they will be called sons of the living God. And Isaiah cries out concerning Israel, though the number of the sons of Israel be as the sand of the sea, only a remnant of them will be saved. For the Lord will carry out his sentence upon the earth fully and without delay. And as Isaiah predicted, if the Lord of hosts had not left us an offspring, we would have been like Sodom and Gomorrah, and become like Gomorrah. So, basically, the idea in Romans 9 is not so much that God is narrowing those who will receive salvation, but he is expanding it to include not just the Jews, but the Jews and the non-Jews or the Gentiles, right? So the actual context is pointing to the opposite of the way most people read it. So they read it as saying, some people are going to be damned and some people are going to be saved, but the actual chapter is showing how God in his sovereignty chose to save everyone and not just the Jewish people.
Okay, give me one more moment. I think there might be another passage we could look into really quick.
Check your message too, Mr. Logic.
Give me one more moment. Yeah, so, what about Hebrews 9:27?
Okay, Hebrews 9:27.
Yes.
And just as it is appointed for man to die once, and after that comes judgment, so Christ, having been offered once to bear the sins. Oh, you said 9:27.
Yeah, Hebrews 9:27.
Okay, so that verse basically says that human beings have a day in which they will die.
Yeah, so to them, instead of looking at it like that, like saying, oh, we're all gonna die, so it's just saying we're gonna die, like that's an obviously fact. So instead of looking at it like in a logical, like looking at it straight out, they're like, oh, because it says in some says appointed, some says destined. Because it says that word, they say, oh, because it's that, that is evidence of predestined things. So that means that we have no free will.
Right, but notice what's destined is a day of death, and death is just separation of the soul from the body. But that's irrelevant to choice.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to get across to them too with this one, because they used a couple different passages, like the one you used, this one, and maybe one more. Like I think it's probably like Job 14:5. Like it's talking about how God has preset a number of days for you. And I think that's 14:5. Job. It's like a person.
Since his days are determined, and the number of his months is with you, and you have appointed his limits that he cannot pass, which is the same idea, which is saying that his days of life are determined. But that's true whether or not you believe in free will, right?
Yeah.
No one.
Yeah.
Well, I guess. Yeah, we're not going to talk about that option. I guess you can determine.
Their thing is like, is if your numbers of days are there, you can't choose life or unalivement. So that means you have no free will.
Right, but that's a fallacy, because it doesn't follow from the fact that you cannot choose everything, that you cannot choose some things. You also cannot choose to make contradictions true. I can't choose to both exist and not exist. Does that follow that I don't have free will? Maybe
Yeah,
that's
it's
not even
like
a thing to choose.
it's like you can't choose that the sky is blue. Like there's stuff that you just can't choose.
Right.
So, like that's it's simply just a fact, and like you don't have a choice in the matter. And I think that's true for a lot of things. Like can't make grass green. Um,
Yeah, so freedom is constrained by our ability and by our nature. Right? I can't choose to fly.
yeah.
It's not a human
If you
being's
could.
nature to fly.
Oh, yeah. That's another thing is like you there's only one truth, right? Like there's not more than one truth to say anything. Like there's only one truth, and that is true. And like so, having your truth is just you saying, oh, well, I'm not going to believe that's true, so I'm just going to say, oh, this is my truth now.
Okay, so that's relativism, right?
Yeah,
So that's relativism
yeah,
about truth. Uh, I hold to a correspondence theory of truth. Now, to say my truth is to speak of like my as a possessive pronoun. So if
yeah,
what is meant by truth in that sentence? What is it that you possess? Like truth is abstract,
yeah,
so it's not like it would be just like saying my number one, right? Your number
yeah,
one what?
um,
I mean, but if you just said the number one is mine, that right? If I said the
yeah,
number three is mine, my number three, it would be kind of
so
abstract.
here, I could give you an example of, like, what they're saying in that. So, this book a book would say, um, let's just take random words. Um, a time to be silent and a time to speak. That's Ecclesiastes 3:7, the second half of it. But, like, for their truth, it would be there's a time to talk, and there's a time where you could be quiet, but it doesn't really matter. That would be their truth of that. Like, so it's, but yeah, that's something that, like, annoys me with people is when they start saying stuff like their truth.
Yeah, it sounds like you're speaking more towards their interpretation, right? So, so if somebody read a text and they say what I get from this is blah blah blah, and you read it and you say, well,
Okay.
I don't see that. Then they say, well, that's your truth and I have my truth, right? Is that the kind of thing you're talking about?
Yeah, I'm saying that, but in all reality, there's only one truth, right? So,
Well, I don't know
like,
about that. I don't know about that. There being only one truth. Maybe you're trying to say something different, but for example, let me give you two truths. Today is August the 9th in the United States. Uh, Here's another truth. I'm wearing a polo shirt. Now, how many truths is that?
okay, so that's two as in, like, okay, I see the miscommunication of terms, I guess. So, I'm not saying, like, that multiple things can't be true. Like, multiple things can be true. Like, there's no doubt about that. But you can't, for my truth, it can't be the sky is green. No, the sky is just blue. That's the truth.
Right. So here's one way to put it. For any two statements that are contradictory, one of those statements must be true. Uh, and that's and I would have to say any two meaningful statements. One of the statements must be true. Nah, brother, this ain't a fake polar. This is a real one. So, right, that's the law of excluded middle. Maybe that's what you mean. For example, either God exists or he doesn't. Right? It's one of those statements must be true because they are logically contradictory. And so is that kind of what you mean there? And y'all excuse me.
I mean, sort of, but not. Hmm. So I'm like, it's not contradictory to each other necessarily. Like, it's just a fact that's like known, like it's a fact. But then you say, but I believe the fact is this instead of this, but the fact, so like the sky is blue, that's a fact. But then if I say that I believe the fact is the sky is green.
Right, yeah. You could be mistaken.
Yeah, but when I'm fighting against that, like, people say the sky is blue, and I'm like, no, the sky is green, and we're both looking at the same sky, we both see through the same eyes, I guess. Like, I just believe that I don't want to identify with how others think, so I'm just going to make up my own thing.
Right. Well, so you're right about the fact that people disagree, but we cannot, I don't think we can infer from the fact that people disagree to they're not sincere, right? Right. Somebody may sincerely believe the sky is green.
Yeah.
Right. Like it's people who believe the earth is flat, right? Or are you going to say,
there's
oh,
people
you don't
who
really believe the earth is flat because it's obvious to you? A lot of times it's difficult for people to see things from others' perspectives, especially what is obvious to them, right? If you know how to solve a math problem, it's just obvious to you how to solve it. And if you're not aware that your perception is different, you may expect you may be offended that somebody else doesn't get it. Like, you don't get that? That's easy. Like, since it's easy for you, you expect it to be easy for others. Right?
Yeah.
And that's one of the fallacies in perception or
Okay.
in communication, that people assume that others are like themselves. So you can't jump from people disagree to they're not sincere. They just made that up to disagree with you. Maybe they're just sincerely mistaken.
Yeah, I understand. But what if this person does not like you and just doesn't want to, like, have the same, like, even though you say a fact, they'll just make up something else to just disagree with you and just to have their own, to make them happy.
Oh, we call that trolling? They're trolling you, basically?
No, they don't like you, so they're sincerely gonna go out and, like, spread the word that, oh, I don't like you so much. My truth now is this, and it's like the blue and green sky again. My truth is now the sky is green, just so when they have, like, no, like, nothing to do with you. And
Okay,
they say
I
that's
need you
my
to give me,
truth.
like,
Yeah, I think we're kind of veering off the actual topic because that's more of just like a personal thing. Sounds like.
yeah, that's more.
Okay,
that's more
yeah.
psychological and psychoanalysis of somebody else's motivations and things like that. But and I will go there with you, but I just didn't know what you were talking about.
Yeah, I know. I need to think through it a little more on my own before I bring it to anyone.
Yeah,
get
or you
terms
can
and stuff.
always just ask someone like what their intentions are.
But like my whole thing is like they. I mean, I think the like meat of it is they believe this is something true, but the obvious truth to everyone and even them is this, but they reject that.
Right. So
Like, does that mean that there's more
can
than
you
one
give me
truth?
a real example instead of a they and think this and you're not telling me who they are or what this is. Could you put a little meat on the
Well,
bones?
Like, what was this discussion of? What was the actual discussion about?
I mean, I can't really bring that up, like, to this.
Looks like it's just for the
But,
people watching.
yeah, but I don't want to.
Was it regarding something like spiritual, or was it like some personal stuff? Because that's why I say I think we're kind of, I don't know if we're trying to veer off the.
Both. So, I think that it's definitely tied into the spiritual, but just because they feel better when it's not true to them, they say that, oh, my truth is this.
Right, but what I'm saying is from a evidence based perspective, you can infer what a person thinks and feels, but you can't state it with like certainty, like absolutely. Like for example, I'm having this
No,
conversation
okay.
with you, but what if I said, "Well, you're saying this, but you're saying it for this reason." It's like, well, how would I know that? I may think that, but I can't really be
Okay.
sure that I'm right about assigning intentions to you. The best way to know your intentions is to ask you, right? And
Yeah.
unless you have
So
good
what if
data.
that? So that person tells you this. So you're talking about the Bible. You read a verse, and someone says, "You say this is the base point of this verse," and they're like, "I'm not comfortable following that. So my truth is actually," and they change the verse to be what they need to have. Like what they desire it to be something else. So to them, that's what they make it. And
So
but
you're
does
talking
that make
about
it true?
okay, so you're talking about more of eisegesis than exegesis. Basically, you come to the Bible with an opinion, and you basically read your view of the world into the Bible rather than seeing what the author was actually communicating himself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean
Okay.
that happens a lot.
Yeah. So, but does that make it true?
Oh no, of course not.
Yeah.
Of
Okay.
course not.
Uh,
Of course not. That's just. I mean, uh, I don't know why, but when people read the Bible, it's like reading skills go out the window. Like when you're in school, they tell you like context clues and text evidence, but when people read the Bible, it's just sometimes it's well, I feel this and I get this from the, and it's like who cares? Like it's not like you looking at a cloud and trying to see what shape do you see in the cloud, what animal do you see
yeah.
there. It's an actual text with words that have meanings independent of your own background and your own experiences. So when you study biblical interpretation or hermeneutics, they basically try to teach you to see objectively what's there, right? Objectively, quote unquote, because we can't fully separate our own experiences from a text. But what we can do is get in the mind of the authors from those times by being aware of what we bring to the text, right? Our own biases and stuff like that. And so,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, we appreciate your input, Mr. Logic. We have Miss Lady. Oh, she's on TK. Oh no, there she is. we have Miss Lady that joined as well. So
Yeah, I'm gonna go anyways. Yeah, thanks for. Yeah, that's exactly.
No.
Sorry
No,
about
don't
the
go.
news.
Don't go. Don't go.
Oh,
Hold on. Don't go
okay.
yet.
I'll stay.
um, I I think I know what he's talking about a little bit because I say all the time, "This is my truth." Okay, when Paul is talking in the Bible about, I'm just going. I don't have my Bible with me, but when he's talking about, you know how like people is once saved, always saved, but if you're ain't in right standing with God, you can lose your salvation.
Uh-huh.
So I had I told a testimony, and I was saved at that point, but I was in disobedience. But at the end of this testimony, not only me, but I have another gentleman that's seen this. I felt God's handprint on me that saved my life in that moment. And he was like, "There's no way, because it says in Paul that you'll lose your salvation if you're not." But see, that's my truth. How can he tell me what my truth is? How I felt God on my back, covering me, no matter what Paul said.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
So basically, you had an experience, and someone told you that Paul said you wouldn't have that experience.
No, told me that they read a scripture in Paul stating that if you okay, they was a once saved, always saved believer, and they were reading out of some scriptures, but it was under Paul's the letters of Paul, and it was talking about the salvation, like if you're not in right standing, that you can lose your salvation, or you're not covered by God, or I wouldn't listen. I was saved, but I got in an altercation with the police, and they were fixing to shoot me in the head, and the police backed off because he seen a glow over me. And I felt God in that moment. I was looking at 65 years to life sentence. God saved me from that. I did 6 years. So you can't tell me that God wasn't protecting me.
Right. Right.
He testified. Listen, he testified. The officer, there were six of them, testified in court on my behalf of why they didn't shoot me.
Yeah, it sounds like that he just took your experience and just said, no, that didn't happen. And that's like, that is,
But
yeah,
you
that's
want to
insane.
know why, though? You want to know why? Because that's my truth, and Paul says something different. You know, the Bible.
One second for a second. I mean, one second for a second. 1 second. Paul is the last person you want to say that did not have that kind of experience.
Yeah,
Because
literally
it
on
was
I'm
the
just
Paul
wall.
who
saying.
saw a
No,
blinding.
listen.
Paul saw. No, I'm not saying you. I'm arguing with the person who told you this, right? So I'm imagining they're here, but Paul saw a blinding light, glory. It was glory. The sky lit up
Literally,
and knocked
like,
him off of his horse so much that he went blind and dealt with eye problems for the rest of his life. Right? He writes to the Corinthians that when I was with you, y'all would have even given me your eyes. When he's writing an epistle, he says, "Look at how big. Look, I wrote this with my own hand. Look how big the writing is." So historians and theologians believe that Paul struggled with a health condition, an infirmity. When he says, "I prayed to the Lord 3 times that He would remove this thorn in my flesh," some people think that the thorn was actually a health condition that had to do with his eyes, because we consistently see eye words relating to the eyes come up throughout the New Testament. So for this person to tell you that didn't occur, I understand that you're saying that that was your truth. So by your truth, you mean that's your experience, right? And so,
Yes, and like I got evidence. Like I was on every news station. I was I was
really,
in every newspaper. You could Google
let
me
me
and
Google
it'll
you.
pop up.
What do I need to find?
Yeah, and Miss Lady, correct
I
me if
was
I'm
in it.
wrong, because I think I was there for that conversation. So I think what your concern was is that someone was trying to tell you that you did not have salvation at that point because you were outside of the will of God. Is that
Yes, and I
what they
don't
were?
believe that. Yeah, well, see, but
Right.
they believe that once saved, always saved. But the struggle that me and him had was I know that I was in disobedience. Okay, I mean I had six police shooting at me. Okay, I understand that. For something that I done. But what I'm saying is,
Well, let me ask you.
he said
Let me
he says
once
he saying
I think I get it. Let me repeat it back to you because if Jam and Jay just summarized what you were saying, then I get it. Basically, since you were in trouble with the law, then you were not saved at the time. So that could not have been God protecting you because you were not saved. Is that right?
no, I was saved, but he said that I couldn't be protected because there's a chance you can lose salvation. When? When do you lose salvation?
Yeah, I don't believe you
So
can lose
so he said
salvation.
there's a chance you could lose salvation, so you were not protected.
It's
Yeah,
yes.
basically that wasn't God since he felt like she wasn't saved at that time, and that wasn't God, and God didn't provide that protection for her.
And it wasn't just me that felt it, it was them officers that seen it because they testified in court.
So he denied that it was a divine intervention into your life and protection by God.
Yes, because I was saved and I don't know if I'm back. I just was hell, okay? I was saved and I went astray a little bit. Well, a lot of bit.
Okay.
But I never like cursed God or denounced that I wasn't a believer or nothing like that. I just got caught up in in the streets.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so what does that mean to you that he rejected the miracle? Or can you tell us who was this person?
Was
Timothy.
that Tim? Yeah, it was Tim.
Yeah.
Was that a
He
pastor?
called me a serpent.
Tim is a
I, he's
he's
like
a
a debater.
yeah, he's an evangelical. He's a he does believe like in the Bible and stuff, and I think he used a scripture from Paul to support that she was not she did not have salvation, and and therefore God did not intervene in that situation. That was where that conflict came.
That makes absolutely no sense because
Yeah.
the people of Israel, the Hebrews, go back to the Exodus. The same people who were building the golden calf were the same people that God saved from Pharaoh through the Red Sea,
Okay.
through the miracle.
Mm,
God has been
Well,
providing
yeah.
for his people throughout the Old Testament. As a matter of fact, God told Moses says, we need you to come with us. Moses says, if your spirit don't go with us, I'm not going. And God told Moses, he says, I'm not going with y'all because you all are a stiff-necked people. Y'all are rebellious. Y'all are disobedient, right? You're going astray. And why God is telling them this, the Hebrews are at the bottom of the mountain making another idol, worshiping another God. So God protects his people even while they are going astray. That's
Yeah,
all throughout the Bible.
and I think that like those signs occur to people that aren't saved either. Like Paul, he wasn't saved at the time, but God still showed him himself, and in that instance where he got knocked off the horse and blinded, like signs can be
well,
shown to everybody.
I say my truth because the things that I'm 47, so I've endured a lot of stuff, and I always say my truth, and your truth is your truth.
Right.
And he went as far as to call me the serpent, and me and him got into it.
Right. Well, that he sounds like a jerk, but when you say your truth, you mean your experience.
Yes.
You have your
Like,
experiences.
I'm not
I have
taking,
my
listen,
experiences.
I'm not taking nothing away from Paul and his writings or none of that. But for me, I know when I felt God's presence over me, like I felt Him cover me.
Oh, and can I look
It
this up?
wasn't no.
Miss Lady, do you remember the scripture he used? Because I think context is always important too.
I don't. It's Paul where he's talking about salvation. Ain't that Paul?
Salvation.
We're talking about
Salvation is
salvation.
mentioned a lot in the Bible, but I do remember it was Paul. I can't remember the scripture.
Yes, it's where I'm listening. I'm using layman terms. It's where he was talking about you got to be in right standings, or you might not be covered, is what he said. Now I wasn't focused on that because I was telling my testimony and he cut me off.
Right. Well, that's your experience. So I guess what I was saying earlier was that people use how's it going, Yahweh WHWH. Yeah, people
Just
use
call him Central Grammar
words.
Time.
Yeah, people use words in different senses with different meanings. So it's important when you're communicating that you guys have the same meaning, especially when you're analyzing what a person is trying to give in terms of a explanation of their thinking, or what I call an argument. It's important you know what they mean when they say different things. So in everyday speech,
I don't try to argue.
right?
I
Well,
try not to argue.
yeah. Well, that's understandable. I think when we say argue, a lot of times, since most people don't argue academically, when they hear the word argue, they only think everyday experiences and arguments. But coming from an academic background, an argument is really just your facts and your reasoning and your evidence. That's your argument. It's when you reason with facts and evidence. Yeah, Jay, man, it looks like we lost.
Yeah, it looks like, well, she might have had some phone issues because I saw she went on teacup right before she dropped. But this is a good opportunity to say just a quick commercial break. If you all enjoy Mr. Logic, him sharing his knowledge and his information with you all, we're going to ask that you tap that live, like the live, share the live, and if you would like to come up, just give us a holler.
Oh, it won't let me up. Okay. 1 second. I wonder why it won't let him up.
I got him.
Okay.
Oh, I think we need more boxes. Let's see.
You know, it's funny because I let other people back up, and the option to let Yahweh up doesn't show.
Oh, are you Yahweh? Are you following the live creator? I believe they might not allow you to let them up unless they follow. It could be. I'm not 100% sure.
Oh, that's Michael. How's it going, Michael?
I can drop if you need to bring somebody up there.
Oh, no.
But you should be able to add more boxes too.
Yeah, Michael, I don't see the thing to let you up, Michael. I don't know why. The option is just like not here for me. It's a resume live to invite. So for your side, it's saying resume live, but I am live, so I don't know what's going on. But Miss Lady, what was the how can I look up your story, your experience?
Listen. What I'll do is after I get off, I'll go under your picture, and I'll give you the name and the date and all the stuff, and you
Okay,
can
you inbox
read
me
and look it up.
because
Yes.
that's a one incredible. Wow, that's pretty crazy. Wow. Yeah, I definitely want to look into that. I love reading about things like that. Yeah, so basically, the sense of truth that we're discussing is the sense of truth in terms of facts, right? Now, something can be a fact about your experience, such as it's a fact that you felt the presence, that a light came over you, that the police reported. But there are also facts that have nothing to do with our experiences, right? Like it may be like how many stars are in the universe or whatever. Or there may be a star somewhere that you can observe with with any of the instruments that we have and that we own. And so if that's the case, then something can be a fact, using the word fact in terms of truth. Something can be a fact that we have no evidence for, right? But the problem with that statement is that sometimes we use facts to mean something that is true and something that is proven with evidence. So if that's what we mean by facts, then it gets kind of tricky to reason about things, and we got to make sure we have the same meanings. But no one can deny your experience, right?
No, and like I don't listen. I'm not the one to discredit the word of God, the Bible, the writings, the people who wrote it. But I have a problem with you telling me because it's written here or your interpretation of it that that's it. I'm not moving off of that. Well, okay, that's your truth. But for the other people, this is what I experienced, and I got receipts. You see what I'm saying? Like
Yeah, you got the receipts.
I'm here. Yes, I'm here talking to you today because I didn't get shot to death.
Wow. What's the background to the story? Did you tell the? I'd like to
I
hear.
believe the correct term is pew-pewed to unalivement.
Oh,
we don't want to
yeah,
get this
yeah.
the live
I'm sorry.
struck. Yeah, no problem.
Unalive, yes,
Yeah, you're all
unalive.
good. You're all good, Miss Lady.
It was attempted M on them.
What on the police?
Yes.
That's crazy.
And listen, the whole car was demolished in fire, in pew pew, gas tank and all, and it never blew.
And you were
So you
inside.
can, yes, and you cannot tell me that God did not cover me. My head went through the windshield.
Mr. Logic, can you see if you can add more boxes? I think the spaces are limited, but you should be able to add like
I mean, I had 3 at first.
I,
I think you got to go under settings. I'm new at this thing too.
I mean, I said invite up to six guests. So I think it's
Do you got that one?
yeah. I have it up to. I can invite up to 6 guests, but I don't know. Let's see. I don't know why.
think it might be the format of the live. I think you have to change like the format because
No,
I
I
don't
mean
even see
we
the I
just
don't
had
even see the.
3. We had 4 at a time just a second ago. So we should be able to bring him up. But his
Yeah, but I don't even see the boxes where I can click the invite.
right, but I don't see that on his, but I see it on other people's. That's what I'm saying.
Oh,
So like if I click on somebody else, I see the invite box, but on Michael's, I don't see it. Now I don't know why that is. Michael, I don't see it on yours, but I see it on not you say I'm an archaeologist, not an IT tech. Needed to go live as guest. That's so weird. Oh, so you don't have live access?
Oh yeah, that might be it too. Yeah,
Oh, he may not have enough people.
yeah. You have to
Don't
have a
you
certain
have a
amount of
certain
followers.
amount?
Well, no, he has a good amount.
That's crazy. No, he has more followers than I do. Contributions to his live. Did y'all see the request up link? Maybe that's not here yet. Yeah, I don't know why I can't add you, Michael.
I just hit the boy and the girl at the bottom, but you didn't. I don't think you seen it. And then I told Jim and asked Jim if I could come up, and somebody got me up there. One of
Okay,
y'all.
so you were in a car,
Yes.
avoiding the popos, and they sprayed you with pew pews, and you hit something. Your head goes out of the window, and you get out and you start running.
No. He actually let's see how it go. Yes, I hit two of our cars, and a big like you know the things that are maybe at an apartment complex or something like that that says this is the entry of such and such, and it's made out of a big brick thing.
Yeah, it's kind of like a sign or something.
Yes, but it's a great big one, and it's real thick. I hit one of those.
Okay, like when you're entering a new city and it says "Welcome to so and so."
Yes, but it was all the way rocked from the bottom to up.
Okay, I know what you're saying. Like yeah.
Like I hit a rock wall. Yeah.
Okay, did you get out of there?
I did.
Okay, so you got out the car.
I did.
Were you shot? Or can I say that?
No.
Jay?
No.
No.
I can't say that.
Where you hit?
No.
Yeah.
What if I'm talking about basketball? TikTok, I'm talking about basketball. No. But so were you hit? You weren't hit?
Nothing ever hit me. I just hit the windshield with my head. When my mother went to look at the car, there was nothing left of it. She said, I don't know how you made it out alive.
And so you get out the car.
Yes.
Are the police behind you? Do they get out their car?
They already out. All of them.
And they surrounded you with the pew-pews pointed towards you?
They were pew-pewing me in that car.
But once you hit,
and
did they stop?
Once I hit, I opened the door, and they were all still there. They were fixing to. One was like right at the door because he had run up to open the door because they thought that it knocked me out when it hit my head. They thought that it knocked me out, but I shook it off. And I got out of the car, and he held it to my head and said, "Get on your knees." So I did. And I talked real crazy to him, like really crazy. And he went to pull it, and he couldn't do it.
And how do you know that?
He told my mother in the court.
He said he tried to.
He said I took 4 out in the line of duty and I could not do it. She had a white glow over her. He said it wouldn't. He said something in my hand would not let me do it.
Wow.
And his partners, they sing the same thing. So the man ain't crazy.
Especially three people to be. So how many partners testified to this?
There was four in court, but there was six of them all together.
So four testified that they saw the same thing?
Yes, and told my mother.
That's pretty crazy. That's pretty
Yeah.
crazy.
So
So
that's why when
what are you
somebody,
gonna do? What are you doing now? What is it that you think God has called you to do?
well, I'm gonna share a little something with you, and maybe you won't think I'm crazy. You're a believer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, when I was like 4 or 5 years old, well, I'll say 5 or 6, I used to think that I was crazy, okay, because I would have conversations with myself, but it was I had gifts and I didn't know I had gifts, okay?
Gifts,
And
Gifts.
yes, I could see, um, I could see like good things and bad things and um, just like I had these gifts and I didn't know what they were. I thought that I'm crazy. Like I tell my grandma and my mom, "Hey, I need to go to the doctor. I'm crazy. There's something wrong with me." And the other doctor, they say, "There's nothing wrong with her. There's nothing wrong with her." So as I got older, I understood what it was. I have a real big calling on my life. I have been through. I'm 47. I have been through. When I tell you I've been through all walks of life, I can talk to anybody. I can talk to anybody in the lowest of the low of the projects, all the way to the White House. I've been to both. Um, I try to plant seeds. I don't bash people with the word. Um, I um, I
Wow.
love God. I love God. Do you hear me? I love. It's something that I've never, ever, ever experienced. Not with my children, my grandchildren, my ex-husband. I ca- I don't know how to explain it.
Well, I'm
I
thinking if that.
I have listen. Hold on. I have missed death more than probably you can count on your hands. I OD'd probably 3 times, and I was DOA when they got to me.
Wow.
And then when they're beating on me and fixing to do the pedals, I wake up and I say, "What are you doing to me? I was just asleep. What are you doing to me?" And they're like, "Ma'am, calm down. Your mouth was already blue. You done lost all functions of your body." I've been through a lot.
Wow. I guess you see my mouth
COVID took,
open.
yes, COVID took my eyesight, blind in both eyes, pitch dark, but God restored my eyes. Not 100%, but enough to see, enough to read that Bible, enough to plant those seeds. You
Amen.
see what I'm saying?
Yeah, that is amazing. You know what? I'm thinking
Hmm.
when you have an experience like that, then what better than to just tell your experience, share your experiences with others? That may be
Yes, because
all you supposed to do.
I've been through it. Like I went to the inauguration with Obama. I got to eat dinner with them. Yeah. I've been in the project studying too. Got a quarter pound for you. You ever heard that?
Wow. So had you get to eat with Obama?
I was affiliated with the Tennessee newspaper, And I got to do a story on them, like a little write-up thing. I've been to the White House several times.
Really?
You know, like, yeah, like on different occasions. Honey, I ate with the best of them. Creflo Dollar, all of them. But they didn't care for me. They didn't care for me because I think everybody needs God, not just the people with the big wallet.
Yeah.
Like, they wanted me to speak at their church, and when I told them that, they sort of shunned me. So I was like, well, I'm not your cup of tea. That's fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I went on about my business. You see what I'm saying? Like, no, no sweat off my nose. Um, because I come from, I'm like a chameleon. I can blend in just about anywhere, and people they navigate to me. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's like they tell me their life history, and I listen. I just listen, and I just listen, and I tell them things that I've experienced and went through, and you know,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I mean, that's pretty fascinating, and like you said, it's amazing to have those experiences, and I think I would say just keep sharing your experiences.
And listen, you want to hear something that's really crazy? Like, talking to you, I cannot think of that passage. I can't think of it. But when I sit down to read my Bible and study my Bible, that Holy Spirit, baby, it rightly divides that word and walks that word down 3 ways to Sunday to me and breaks it down. But for as telling you book, chapter, verse, and this and that, I ain't gonna remember.
Okay. Well, I think I'm gonna end the live, and then uh I'll try to restart it to see if Michael. I'll try to see if it can let you back up in a second if you want to stay here, hang in there for a second. But Miss Lady, thank you so much for sharing your story. I want to invite you back to hear some of the rest of it at some point, or my moderators are telling me to stay on topic. But
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But I'm I love hearing these kind of stories. But if you can suggest
Do
a
you have a
topic, then we can deal with it.
testimony?
What'd you say?
Do you have a testimony? Do you have a testimony?
Yeah, I guess I do. I think I'm still working through my testimony. It's not
Well, mine
complete.
ain't over yet.
Yeah.
Um, I have a testimony Tuesday, so come to my live.
Okay. Let me check you
I
out.
follow you.
Okay, let me
Yeah,
check you
yeah,
out.
yeah, Mr. Logic. There's a whole community of people who have lives and stuff, and so kind of jumping in and getting engaged, and a lot of those will kind of get you acclimated to that community as well. So that's a pretty good idea.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
It,
Yeah.
it was nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you as well. Hey, I thank
Nice
y'all
meeting you too,
for
Miss
coming
Lady.
on. This tonight
I'm
was
gonna
my
get out of
first live.
here. Oh, well, congratulations.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for having me.